Hey everybody, Decaff back again. Today we're going to rework the model a little bit. We have most of the details in now, but right now we need to work on getting it ready to move what we've made into other models. So this is Lufthansa 600 model, and we'd like to make this into an 800 model, and we'd also like to fix a few things. Through the course of looking at all my blanks, I came to discover that my 600 blank and my 700 blank was a little bit off. Specifically back here in the tail. You'll notice, let's isolate this again. Oops, forgot to pull in the keyboard. There we go. You'll notice that for whatever reason I have a bunch of triangles back here rather than the four-sided polygons everywhere else. Well, that was because there was some things going on back here that I didn't realize at the time were very important to how the tail worked. So let's bump the animations by pressing the up key, and we'll see that our tail is right there. And there's a couple things that we got to look at here. Number one, we can see through the tail here. That's not very good. And number two, this actually bumps up a little bit, interfering with the way the tail is. So what we're going to do today is, number one, export all of the things that make this uniquely a Lufthansa airplane. Specifically the name here, the tail, and then those little decals that we put in. The painting we can redo at a later date if we absolutely have to. But what we're going to do, rather than try to redo the entire model, what we're going to do is fix this. So what we're going to do is we're going to edit our face fuselage here, and what we're going to do is we're going to delete the back half of this. So we're going to go with the B selection tool and delete all these faces. Now you may think, oh no, what about all that work that we did? Well, that's okay, it's still there. And the painting that we did to the mesh here is just a straight through cut to make it. So it's not too big a worry. So I'm going to go ahead and import the new back half, which correctly has the tail in here. Now one thing that you can see here is this little bit right here. Let's go into the edit mode here, isolate it. You'll notice that this is kind of a weird looking thing. This is supposed to block us from seeing through, but unfortunately it doesn't cover everything. It's working up here, but not down here. So what we're going to do is fix that. So I'm going to not delete it because that'll mess up a few of the animation things, but we're going to import a new thing after we put in the bottom of the fuselage. So let's go ahead and import this. And I have a lot more airlines here, but let's go into my components section, and we're going to go into the select that, and there we go. Here is the new back half, and immediately you notice right here this is very, very different. The very back edge, bottom edge of this tail here, the rudder, has to line up with that point right there where those lines meet. So number one, we got to merge these guys together. So what we're going to do is go into vertex mode and make that point the object center. And we're going to go to object mode to center it. And then over here, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the side view, and we're going to move our cursor over there and go back to object mode. Now we select this guy and then snap the selection to the cursor. That's a very easy way to specifically put something where you want it to go. And now you can see back here that we can see the bottom of where the tail should go. But we still got a couple things to fix. If we go into our solid view mode, you can see the seam in between the two. So what we're going to do is fix that by merging these two guys together. And then we're going to use the B selection tool to select all that, and then remove doubles. Now you see that it looks seamless. Now we removed the doubles because there were points from the rear that we inserted and points from the original fuselage they were coinciding the same places. So we just removed them, and Blender automatically said, oh, those points are overlapping. Well, we'll just merge each of those points together. So it's no big deal. So now we have to make our tail go into the right place. Well, how do we do that? That's a little tricky. If we just try to move this, and then we go up in the animations, notice it snaps right back. So what we have to do is look at what all these things are going to. And today I want to introduce the different view layers. Blender has different layers that allows us to separate things out. And right now we are looking at layer 1. If we want to switch layers, very, very simple. We just press the numbers above the keyboard. So for example, I press the 1 above the keyboard to see this. I press 2 to see this view where we can see some lights and some other things. But the key thing here is the 6 viewpoint. This is all of the different things needed to create the animations. These are all the empties. And these guys back here are all associated with the rudder and tail. So how do we see all these things together? Because it's kind of weird to be going looking at these and then switch back to our first viewpoint and work there. Well, if we press the key to the left of the number 1 key, don't know what the symbol is called, little squiggly line, now we have all the layers on top of each other being viewed at once, which is very, very helpful. But now we need to be able to see inside the model. So we go to wireframe. And now we can see absolutely inside the model. Now one thing that we should pay attention to is these dashed lines. What these lines represent are parent-child relationships. In order to define where these empties are, they're parented to another empty. In this case, there is a horizontal tail empty which controls all of these guys. So we just got to find that one among this mess in here, and then we can move these guys around. Lucky for us, we just follow the parent lines right in, and we see it comes to this object empty right there. But we're also going to take that one right there and that one right there. And now we're just going to drag those back linearly. And what we're going to do now is, rather than try dragging them around because they're so far away, what we're going to do is we're going to go in the first viewpoint, and we're going to get the tail end pretty darn close. And then we're going to forget about that and look in here. And we're going to use the G, the grab tool, and the X to move this right into position. So we're going to zoom all the way in here to get this pretty darn close to where it needs to be. And now you notice that the rudder is perfectly aligned with the fuselage here. There's no overlap. That is what we want. So now we have the tail put in the right place. If we go into the texture view mode and we go up, we can see that our model right there, the inside overlap there, is all set. But there's one last thing that we need to do, and that is to fix, quote unquote, fix gap that we see there. Now we could go in and edit the actual model here and make some work there by selecting that there and pressing the face tool, the F key to make the face, like we did when we were making all of the various polygons and the decals. And that works, but we have to go in and vertex paint this. And there we go. So now that's all set. But what I did was I also made copies of that and exported it so that I could bring that back in and precisely fiddle around with it. In this case, I don't need to do that because it's just a pretty straightforward fix, but other times that might not be quite in the right spot. So now that we have all of these empties here, now we can look at properly exporting animated pieces, meaning that we could properly export this tail so we didn't have to rework it. So all we have to do is import that into another model and it would be all set to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to export all of our decals, and then we are going to export the tail. So I am going to first of all go back into the first viewpoint, and I'm going to make sure that my Lufthansa things are the same. These guys down here are on both sides, and then this flag back here is also selecting on both sides. Well, it's not. So I'm going to go ahead and select the other side and merge those two together. Okay, sorry about that. So we just merged those guys together. So I'm going to go back out. I'm just going to finish up with the model here and get that finished up painted so that we can have our 600 model completely finished first before we go anywhere else. Oops, not what I wanted to select. There we go. Now we gotta get all these guys. So one of the things that you want to do to make sure your lives are easy is to not have to redo things. That's why we want to export our tail and our other decals, because why redo the work? I mean, we've already done it and we have the capability to do so, to reuse it, so why not? So let's export all these guys. Export as a .srf file, and we're going to call this wrapped, and this one we're just going to call -600 stuff. Export surf. There we go. And then these back here, a little more generic. I'm going to call them German flags. Alright, so we have those set. Let's save this. And what we're going to do is we're going to start deleting some things, but we are not going to save it. So what we need to do is go back into wireframe, go back into the view all layers, select the two things that we're using for the tail, those two empties. We're going to move it back a specific amount. In this case, I'm going to move it back 25. That completely clears it away from these guys. And then we're going to go ahead and delete all these. Now you might be freaking out saying, why did we delete it? Well, we haven't saved anything yet, so it's okay. So now we're going to bring these back 25. Actually, no, we'll bring them back 20, because we're going to move this into an 800 model, and the 800 model is stretched a little bit, so it makes sense to try to get it away from all the mess that was over here. So quick animation check to make sure that all of the animations are still working. Yep, they are. And we're going to export this as a .dnm file. This is the animation file. So we're going to call this Lufthansa tail, because it'll be the same for all the Lufthansa models. And now we're going to immediately open our 600 model again, just so you guys can see that nothing actually bad happened to it. So now it all exists. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start working on the 800 model, and I'll show you just briefly how to set that up real quick. So we're going to save this just to be extra sure. Then we're going to go open up a blank 800 model. There we go. So here's our blank 800 model. You immediately notice it's much longer, both forward and aft. So we're going to have to change a few things. First thing that we're going to have to change is we're going to have to get rid of this tail. So we're going to go ahead, find where this tail corresponds to. Where are you? There you are, hiding there. We're going to move this back -25, and we're just going to go ahead and delete that. Then we're going to import the tail. So, oops, before we do that, let's save this into our Lufthansa setup, to our Lufthansa folder, just so it's not overwriting the blank model. That would be bad. Save as. Alright, there we go. Now we can import our, where's our tail? There's our tail. So there we are. Now we're actually pretty darn close. So now we're going to select what this is all referencing to. There we go. And we're just going to move this a little forward, do a quick animation check. It works. Now we're going to finalize where we want to put it. And there we go. We'll zoom a little farther in. Make sure that's all good. Just go back just a little bit more. There we go. Zoom on out. So now we have all those guys. Sometimes it can be pretty annoying to have all in the way, so I frequently shift back. Now let's get our decals put in here. And so we're going to want the wrapped one. Where is that? Oh no, did that not save? Nope, there it is. And now notice that now this is sort of burying in here. One thing that you want to make sure when you are importing something is, even though it looks like it's selected, notice that that pink selection is a little bit darker than normal. If we were to go and try to tab into it, it doesn't work. Basically, it's in sort of a purgatory state, I guess you could call it. It's not quite fully imported yet. What we have to do is click on it to select it. To sort of deselect and then select it back, just so that it comes back into the model, it's ready to be edited. Now we can do a couple things. We could either move this forward until it comes in there, or what we could do, and I like to do actually, is actually edit the sketch, or edit the decal here, so that we're only moving where the text is. We're not moving the object center. This just gives it a little bit more stability, because the object center is currently at the model center, so it's not going to want to move if something weird happens. So if we just, in the edit mode, move this forward to the point where it's coming through, there we go. Now that's a little bit more securely defined. It's just a little semantics kind of thing, I guess you could call it. It really doesn't matter all that much. It's just the way I prefer to do it, because I've had things in the past with animation where I'll go up and all of a sudden that won't be there anymore. It'll have shifted, and its object center will have merged to the very object, to the model center. So now the thing that I spent so much time getting into the right position is now buried in the center of the model. So yeah, you want to watch out for that on occasion. So let's go ahead and import the flags. Import German flags, plural. And notice now we can't see them. So let's go into wireframe. They're actually there, so they came through. Now let's go into textured mode, select them all, and we're just going to move them back until they pop through the skin. There they are. Just peeking through now. Now that's all set. Let's see here. Anything else we need to put in? Oh yeah, the coloring. We need to bring the coloring through. How do we do that? First thing we're going to do is we're going to save this. Next, what we're going to do is go and open our 600 model, and we're going to pick up this color in the vertex paint mode. So I already have it selected, but I'm just going to show you. You just go select it, whatever. You're all set now. Now we're going to go and open back our 800 model. And let's work on the engines, because that we know needs to be there. Vertex paint, and notice that our color came through. So I'm quickly just going to paste that in a couple of spots just so it's absolutely in the model and saved there. And then we're going to do the paint script to get all of the engines the right color. So script window, and it's already got this set up, so we're going to select the white and we're going to replace it with our new color. And we select both of those, and there we go. Save again. So now you can go ahead and rework the fuselage. One thing that we can actually save time with is this part of the model right here, where the wings meet the fuselage. What we can do is actually delete that from here. Save this model, open the 600 model, and export that. So wing to face. Save that. Open back our 800 model and import this back in. Now notice that our open menu is down here. If you have the script window open and you try to do the import, it'll go straight to the script window. I'm not exactly sure why Blender defaults to that, but it's something that you want to be aware of. So it looks like that didn't come through. So we're going to go back into the button window and we'll try that import again. Import. There we go. Now we come through over here. Import. There we go. All beautiful in there. Looks kind of weird. So this is how I like to bring things and reuse things that I've made. It saves a lot of time. So if you're making 10 different versions of the same aircraft, or same livery, same airline, but different versions of the aircraft or different models entirely, like a 737 and then a 787 or something like that, but you were able to carry over some of the things, like the decals specifically, that'll save you a lot of time in the long run. So I hope this is very useful. I know there's a few things in here that might be confusing, so if you have any questions, post them right below. I'll do my best to answer them. Again, don't be afraid to ask questions and to practice and make mistakes. That's how you learn. If it doesn't come through the first time, try again. See what's going on. Try it a different way than maybe I showed you to see what goes on when you do that. So keep practicing. I hope this is very helpful. Happy modding.